Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattvabodha Vidhiyate. Page 19. Jagradavastha ka Shrotradi Jnanendriyaihi Shabdadi Vishayaha Jnayante Iti Yatsa Jagradavastha Sthula Sharirabhimani Atma Vishvaha Ityuchyate. Jagradavastha ka, what is the waking state? Shrotradi Jnanendriyehi Shabdadi Vishayaha, or sometimes Shabdadi Vishayahi Jnayante iti Yatsa Jagradavastha or Jnayate. So Shrotradi Jnanendriyehi Shabdadi Vishayahi Jnayate. That's another reading. So that which is known by the sense organs beginning from ears and sense objects beginning from sounds. In short, as we discussed earlier, that state of transaction of the world which is characterized by cognizing the gross objects beginning from sound with our organs of perception, this state is called waking state. As you said, this waking world is the objective reality. It is Ishvara Srishti, it is creation of Ishvara. Whereas dream is the Jiva Srishti, it is subjective reality, Pratibhadika Satta, it is the creation of the individual self or individual mind. That is the difference between these two states. Because otherwise the states appear similar, but they are vastly different. Even though the pattern is similar, that there is a subject and there is an object, and that is the subject-object transaction or interaction, but still the whole world is, the nature of the reality is different. As you said, in the dream body is created, dream sense organs are created, dream objects are created, and the experiences are gained. Therefore, the clarification here, to distinguish the waking state from the dream state, saying that in the waking state, it is this tangible objects that are experienced by the real sense organs, by the grace of the presiding deities. So there are, like Dig Devata is the presiding deity of the sound and Shrotrendriya, and by grace of these devatas, the experiences take place. Then the next sentence is Sthula Sharira Abhimani Atma Vishva iti uchyate. Atma, the self, that is identified with the Sthula Sharira or with the gross body, is called Vishvaha. So waker, what we call waker in English, is called Vishvaha here in Sanskrit. Vishva, Tejasa and Prajna. The waker, dreamer and sleeper. So waker is called Vishva. Vishwa also means one who is a complete person. In the waking state, that is the complete expression of ourselves, because there is identification with the gross body. And as we were discussing yesterday, the sentiency of the gross body is due to the subtle body. And therefore, the gross body can function only when the subtle body is functioning. Therefore, in the waking state, not only is there identification of the gross body, but is also identification of the subtle body. And also the identification of ignorance of causal body. So waker is ignorant also. So ignorance is there. And identified with his mind, sense organs, taking them to the self, that is also there. And further identifying with the body. So first identification with ignorance, then identification through that with the subtle body, and through that with the gross body, and through that with things related to the gross body. Thus a person will call himself father, mother and whatever, and then become attached or identified with maybe the progeny, with the son, with daughter, whatever, is through again the gross body. Then comes further attachments or identification with the outside world. So this is how this process is, that consciousness is first reflected in ignorance. From there into the subtle body. From there, ignorance is not a separate thing, it is in the subtle body only. So, but you can say that ignorance gets reflected in the ignorance, consciousness gets reflected in the ignorance, then subtle body, then gross body, and through that the objects are perceived. So the way they explain the perception or cognition of objects is that the consciousness reflected in the mind reaches out through the organ of perception the particular object. Such as when I see you, for example, then when I see colors and forms through my eyes, the way it is explained is that it is a mind reflecting consciousness travels out through the organ of perception, eyes in this case, and contacts the colors and forms, and the mind assumes a form of the object. Thus we have a thought form of the nature of the object taking place in our mind. So there is a flower, then a thought of the nature of flower takes place. There is a ghata, then a ghatakar vritti, or a thought of the nature of ghata or a pot takes place. This is how the cognition takes place. This is the waking state. And then, in the waking state, the identification is complete with the causal body, subtle body, and gross body, and therefore the expression of the individual also is complete in waking state. Therefore, the waker is called Vishwaha. And what is the characteristic of waking state? Here, on account of identification of the gross body with the sense organs, so with the identification organs of perception, I become a perceiver. With the identification with the organs of action, I become an agent of action. Thus in waking state, I have this abhiman of a notion that I am a doer. I become a doer when identified with the organs of action. I become an enjoyer when identified with the organs of perception. So understand that all those stimuli come and they are all received through the organs of perception. So all experiences of the objects of the world take place at the level of organs of perception. So I become the cognizer or experiencer or enjoyer of sound when identified with the faculty of hearing. I become the enjoyer of taste, touch, color, whatever, when identified with those respective organs of perception. Thus, identifying with the organs of perception. And then through the mind, it makes me bhokta, the experiencer. Identify with the organs of action through the mind, because mind is always required. As we will discuss also, that in perception also mind is required, in action also the mind is required. So, when identified with the organs of action through the mind, I become the karta, the doer. Thus the waker entertains his notions of doer and enjoyer. And this is called samsara. So it says, Sthula Sharira Abhimana means identification. So one who is identified with the gross body is called Vishwa or Vaker, and he entertains the notions of Kartrutva, Bhoktartva, the doership, the enjoyership, on account of identification with the organs of perception and organs of action. And therefore, deliberate actions can be performed only in the waking state. Therefore, in actions that we perform in waking state, they earn the punya and papa, the virtue and vice. Because here, there is a sense of doership. In the dream state, the kartrutva, the doership is not there. You'll see that in the dream state, it's only bhoktrutva, enjoyership. Therefore, in the dream, no new actions are done, even though in the dream, I find myself doing things, good and bad in the dream also. And still, I do not produce any result because there is no kartrutva, there is no doership. In the waking state, the doership is there because I have the capacity to perform deliberate actions. Premeditated actions I can perform only in the waking state. So, therefore, waking state, of course, is the most important state because that is where we really live our life. We are in contact with the real tangible world and we are performing actions. The reality of the waking is what we call the vyavaharika satta, objective reality. The waking state does not have the absolute reality because we say Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithya. Only self or the truth alone is Satyam, that alone is non-negatable, non-changing, and everything else is Mithya. So, even doership, enjoyership, all of this is Mithya, ultimately. But until the Mithya is known as Mithya, it is real. Just as until the dream is known as dream, it is real for the dreamer, and so also for the ignorant man. So we can say that this waking state also is like a grand dream, you can say. Except that the waking state also is a projection. But projection of not the individual mind, projection of the total mind, which is called Maya. So total mind or Ishvara's mind is called Maya. And that also we'll discuss later. So what we call the waking world or the objective reality is a projection of Maya. Maya can be said to be the total mind. So this is also a projection, but of the total mind. Dream is a projection of the individual mind. But inasmuch as both are projections, in that sense, both are equal. Therefore, in a famous text called Mandukya and Kariga, the author of Mandukya Kariga, Gaudapadacharya, establishes how the waking world also is mithya or unreal or projection. Proves how the waking world also is unreal, is projection, is mithya. On the basis of what? On the basis of the experience of dream world. He points out that it is everybody's experience that the dream world is mithya. Because when we wake up, then we know that this was all a projection. Because it is well known that the dream experience is gained when our mind travels through some very fine nerves called hita. That's how the Vedas explain. So that where is the mind, where is the self while dreaming? It is in the very fine nerves, in pericardium, around the heart, which are the hita nerves. In those fine nerves the experience of dream takes place. But in the dream we experience elephants and mountains. There is no accommodation. In those fine nerves there is no space, no place for all of this. Samrutatvat. So thus, in fact, in a very restricted place the dream experience takes place, but what we see are huge things for which there is no room. Therefore, it is the dream objects can't be real. There cannot be real mountain or elephant because there is no space for that. And also when we wake up, then the dream world is negated completely. And it is not there. When I wake up, it is completely negated. So with all of these reasons, Gaudapadacharya proves that this dream world is mithya. And then various other reasons are also given to establish a mithyatvam or the unreality of dream world. It appears to be there, but not really there. So that which appears to be there, but not really there, is called mithya, like the elephant, etc., seen in the dream. So, having established this, then says, now what is the difference between the dream and waking? Says, waking world also is similar to dream. In the dream, we had the subject-object duality. In the dream also, I was the subject and I experienced the world of objects. In dream also, the subject-object duality was there and the dream world is mithya. So everything in the dream is mithya, including the subject-object duality also. The same subject-object duality obtains in waking state. Therefore, waking also is mithya. That is how the mithyatvam or unreality of the waking state is established by Tattvabodha Acharya through the process of reasoning. So mithyatvam is not something that you can see with your eyes. Mithyatvam is something to be seen in the mind. Eyes will just report what is there. It is our intellect or mind that interprets. And usually the interpretation is whatever I see is real. So I tend to take whatever I perceive as real. So the answer is, there is no rule that whatever I perceive is real. The rope snake also I perceive, but it's not real. So also the waking world that I perceive is a projection. Like dream is a projection. Except dream is a projection of the individual mind, the waking is a projection of the total mind. So that's the waking. And thus identified with this says Kaivalya Upanishad, Sayeva Maya Parimohitatma Shariramasthay Karoti Sarvam Striyannapanandi Vichitra Bhogai Sayeva Jagrat Paritruptimeti. In the waking state, this self identifies the gross body on account of ignorance. So ignorance is there in the waking state very much because there is identification with what I am not. So identification of body creates in me the notions that I am a man, I am a woman, tall, short, what a mortal, birth, death, so forth. And on account of identification of the body, all the cravings of the body become my cravings. All the deficiencies of the body become my deficiency. And therefore I find myself extremely lacking and craving. Therefore, there is hunger and thirst and urge for sense gratification, and all these urges become my urges. Therefore, in the waking state, this fellow goes about satisfying his various urges of gratification. Striyannapanadi vichitra bhogai, with various objects of pleasure, he gains experience in the waking state. Sayeva jagrat paritruptimeti. So this is the waking state, where he experiences pleasure and pain. Now, then comes the dream state. So the next passage. Swapnavastha ka iti ched jagradavasthayam yadrushtam yachrutam tajjanitavasanaya Nidra samaye yah prapanchah pratiyate sa swapnavastha sthula sharira abhimani atma tayyasah ityuchyate. Swapnavastha ka iti ched. See, the question was asked, Jagradavastha ka, what is the waking state? It looks like the student does not raise the second question of what is the dream state. Therefore the teacher says, in case this question arises in your mind, if it is asked, Swapnavastha ka iti ched, if this is the case, what is the dream state, if this is a question, that question will arise. So sometimes the teachers wait for the student to ask the question. Sometimes he proceeds to answer the question, recognizing that a given question will arise in the mind of the student. So the teacher says, in case you have a question as to what is the nature of dream state, then this is the answer. Jagradavasthayam, so nidra samaye yah prapanchah pratiyate sa swapnavastha. Nidra samaye, at the time of sleep, yah prapanchah pratiyate, the world that is pratiyate, perceived or cognized, is the dream state. So interesting. So, nidra samaya yah prapanchah pratiyate. In the sleep, so whatever world you see in sleep is called the dream world. In sleep there is no world and still you see the world. So, the world that you see in the dream is called the dream world. How did that world happen to come about? It is projected by the mind. How did the mind project? What's the basis for the mind to project a particular kind of world in the dream? Everybody has his or her own unique dreams. Even I also have dreams different every day. And everybody has their own dreams. So what is it that is responsible for the configuration, the pattern that we find in the dream? Why do we dream the way we dream? Why do things appear in the dream the way they do? So the explanation is given here. Jagradavasthayam yad drishtam yad shrutam. So whatever is seen or heard in the waking state, that janita vasanaya, the vasanas or impressions that are born of the experiences gained in the waking state, that those impressions or vasanas in fact become the material cause for the projection of the dream world. Or the, in fact, material cause, I should say the nimitta karan, that becomes nimitta, that becomes really the instrumental cause in creating a particular pattern and dream. So the jagradavasthayam, in the waking state, yad drishtam yad shrutam, whatever is seen, whatever is heard. In fact, not only whatever is seen or whatever is heard, but whatever experience are gained in the waking state. Every experience generally leaves a certain impression. And some experiences leave greater impressions than others. So usually in our day-to-day experiences, usually a transaction does not get completed. Every experience leaves some residue in my mind. After every interaction, some residue is left. Either I was supposed to make a presentation, having been completed, some residue, I wish I had done it differently. Somebody is talking to me, that leaves a residue. Why did he say that? A little hurt. So little hurt, or why did I say this? A little guilt. Or sometimes I get angry, a little anger. When I meet with somebody and hear what all they are doing, some jealousy. Thus, these residues are left in our mind. Our transactions do not get complete. If every transaction is complete, then no residues are left in the mind. But generally a transaction is not complete because every experience creates an impact in my mind. And that impact is created on account of my own insecurities, my own incompleteness, my own lack or insufficiency. So if you happen to press a button of my lack or insufficiency, then I feel jealous. If you invoke the button of insecurity, then I become angry or I become, defensive. You press the button of greed, then I become demanding. So all these different buttons are there, and usually in our interaction with the world manages to press one or the other buttons. So likes and dislikes are there, waiting just to be expressed. Like the seeds that are planted in the ground, waiting to express themselves as sprouts. And so also these likes and dislikes are there. And usually the experiences seem to provoke these likes and dislikes. And therefore, one or the other residual impression is left in my mind. Even after eating food also, who cooked this? What is this? Who is... Oh, it's wonderful. Well, either way, either there is this residue, it's very good, or not good enough. All right, okay. But I always must have my 2 cents in everything, meaning that my mind always gives a comment and makes a judgment about everything. Good or bad, right, wrong, desirable, undesirable, likable, not likable. One or the other judgment will be made. Very rarely that we are indifferent. We may be indifferent sometimes. When I take a walk from here to the cottage and there are plants and these things in between and pebbles and I don't care. So they don't leave much impression in my mind. Okay, I'm indifferent. So when the interaction is with indifference, then it's okay. Or when your mind is sattvic, when there is this graceful acceptance, when there is this enjoyment of the harmony or the order which obtains, then also there is just the enjoyment of what it is and there is no reaction. Usually impression is left when I react. So harsha also is reaction, shoka also is a reaction. When I judge something as unfavorable, then I react by shoka, by reaction of either frustration, anger or sorrow. When I judge something as favorable, then again I react by harsha, by elation. Thus harsha and shoka, elation and sorrow, all of these are reactions. And inasmuch as most of our interactions are originated from or dominated by the likes and dislikes, raga dveshas, therefore these experiences leave impressions. Therefore, lots of residual impressions are stored in our mind. And mostly they are not processed, they are just left. That is what makes me sad. I sometimes find myself sad. I don't know why. But it's all these little hurt and guilt, they all pile up and pile up. Little by little they pile up. I have not done anything about it. And then they just make me sad. If we are very careful, as soon as a drop of tea falls on my shirt, right away I wipe it. Then it's okay. If I don't wipe it, it remains there. Another tea drop remains there. Coffee drop remains there. Something else remains there. So while washing my hands, some little sprinkle of the soap, something remains. And this is how things all add up. If I don't right away remove that, then they get accumulated. And so also these various residual impressions, if you do not deal with them right away, with what we call pratipaksha bhavana. If jealousy arises, deal with it right away. If anger arises, deal with it right away. By pratipaksha bhavana. Meaning understand what caused jealousy, what caused anger, what caused any kind of reaction. And as we said earlier, any reaction occurs in my mind because I take a certain position, a certain standpoint, and take the opposite standpoint, take the opposite position, then that reaction will be neutralized. For example, I became angry at somebody. That was my position, that the person, I could not tolerate that person, or I judged the person as a threat, as hurting me, insulting me. That means at that time I see only some deficiency in that person, some blemish in that person, and I react to that. So I make my mind do the opposite. Either I make my mind, come on, be tolerant, be accepting, be accommodating. Then that reaction of anger can be dealt with. Or look, mind, this is not the whole person. You are reacting to one part of the person. This is not everything. There are many other things in the person. Look, person is so good, he has done all this for you and is doing so much, and so make my mind see that other aspect, then also the reaction one of seeing one side can be neutralized. So this is called pratipaksha bhavana, a method of neutralizing the reaction by deliberately accepting the opposite position. If you keep doing that all the time, then the mind will remain essentially clear of this residual, then you can sleep happily. We cannot sleep happily because sleep doesn't come. All these things that happen during the day, and I did not have time to deal with them during the day. At night now, when I can't do anything, then all those things come back, hound me, and they demand my attention. During the day I didn't pay attention, I kept myself so busy that I didn't pay attention to all these little residual impressions. When I meditate, then they come. When I do japa, then they come. Puja, then they come, because now they know they have a field day. Because I am the captive audience, Usually I don't give them the audience, but then I become the captive. They come and demand my attention. So all these residual impressions are usually there. So they are there, stored in the mind. And I cannot settle many accounts during the waking state. Many things I want, I cannot do. Many things I want to eat, I cannot eat. Either it is not served me. Swamiji, I knew that you would not like it. Okay, so it's not given, And so I see it being, served elsewhere. But I don't talk about it. In my mind, this is left, that today I did not get rasgulla. Today I did not get ice cream. Today I did not get whatever, pakoda, whatever it is. They are not good for me, supposedly, and they are very kind, and they spare me. But then, in my mind, there's a sense of deprivation. So in the dream, what will I do? I'll have millions of pakodas, all the ice cream that you can eat. Because in the dream, I can create my own world. So, kamam kamam purusha nirmimanaha. As a thought occurs, the world is created. I think of a mountain, mountain is created. Elephant, elephant is created. Whatever thought occurs in the mind, right away, the creation, the dream is what we call sankalpa. Merely by thought, the creation takes place. One good thing is that I don't have to go out shopping in the dream. If I want ice cream, it's there right away. Where did you get it? No question at all. It's there. And suppose sometimes Swamis are, there's nobody to talk to, there's nobody to listen to you, and then there is a desire, then you create in the dream a whole lecture hall and all audience. So many of these impressions, unsatisfied desires or unsatisfied urges, for which there was no occasion to satisfy, or that I was denied the satisfaction of them. So I seek that occasion in the dream to create my own world, and I do. But except that in creating dream world, I do not have any freedom. It is not I who creates really, but it is my impressions, they themselves create things. Although we say that the dreamer creates the dream world, but it is not like Ishvara creating this world. Ishvara deliberately creates according to his sankalpa. In the dream world, I don't have deliberation. These thoughts simply occur based on the stored impressions. Yad drishtam, yad shrutam. Only two things are mentioned, whatever is seen and whatever is heard. Because most of our experience in the waking state come from seeing and hearing. Although we have 5 organs of perception, mainly what contributes the most is these two, seeing and hearing. So, there is of course smell and taste and touch. There are experiences, but they don't have a great impact. What I see has a tremendous impact. That is always remembered much more than what I hear also. Therefore, Bhadram Karanebihi Shunyama Devaha. Bhadram Pashyema Akshabe Nijatraha. May we hear what is auspicious through our ears. May we see what is auspicious through our eyes. Because most of our experiences take place at the level of hearing and seeing. That too, the most vivid impressions are from seeing. Because then there is direct perception. I have no doubt about what I see. Therefore, Atmavara Drashtavya. The self must be seen, meaning that you must know the self as clearly as you know an object when you perceive it through your eyes. So, many experiences take place at the level of sight. And our mind is always making notes of what is happening around. Always makes notes. And as I said, a running comment of what is around also is going on. The impressions are there. I always tune up my ears to what is happening, who is talking, and so again, there also impressions are stored. And these impressions, Tajjanita Vasanaya. Vasana means impressions that are born of the various experiences gained in the waking state. Nidrasamaya yah prapancha pratiyate. In the dream state, what happens is that the gross body, the identification with the gross body is given up. Remember that in the waking state, there is identification with all the 3 bodies, the causal body, subtle body and gross body. So, one outer costume is given up. Like you return in winter from out there, and then there are so many things you are wearing. There is a big overcoat is there, and a jacket is there. The overcoat is given up. Meaning this, identification of the gross body is given up. Now they identify with subtle body, mainly with our mind, not even the whole subtle body. Because, as we saw earlier, subtle body consists of 17 elements. The organs of perception, organs of action, but there is no identification of organs of perception in the dream. No identifying the organs of action also. Not even identifying the whole mind. Only the projecting mind, part of the mind. Sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha, that mind which is the nature to project. Even the intellect is not there to really understand what's going on. Mind creates its own intellect in the dream, but this intellect is not there. This mind is there, which is the projecting faculty. And so that projects. The mind is not yet gone to sleep. You can call it the half sleeping or half awake situation. When the gross body is gone to sleep, the organs of perception, organs of action, they have all gone to sleep. But the mind has not gone to sleep. And there are those impressions which are strong impressions. They do not let the mind sleep. And those impressions then determine, they control the mind and determine the projection of the mind. So what is projected is determined by those impressions. That's why we call them nimitta karanam. For every creation there are two causes, upadana karanam, nimitta karanam. Material cause and efficient cause. In case of pot, for example, the clay is the material cause. But what determines what kind of pot is created? It is a desire in the pot maker that determines what kind of pot is created. Or the desire in pot maker also is because of my desire. I want the pot maker to give me a 2-liter pot. So thus my desire becomes the nimitta karanam. It determines what the configuration of pot will be. Similarly also, what the configuration of the dream world will be is determined by these impressions of vasanas. Yah prapancha pratiyate, the prapancha, the world that is pratiyate, that is perceived, that is cognized, sa swapnavastha, it is called the dream state. So, as Vedanta explains, the basis of the dream projection is the waking state. Jagradavasthayam yas shrutam yad drishtam yas shrutam. Meaning there cannot be an experience of dream for which an impression is not there. This dream projection always is based on the impressions stored in the mind. These impressions are always drawn from experiences, and experiences that are gained in the waking state. Although some people say, Swamiji, I have never experienced such a thing, what I saw in the dream I never experienced. Maybe we had experienced something in childhood, and maybe those impressions are stored, maybe they are coming up. Or maybe there are impressions actually in what we call the unconscious mind, and sometimes they may manifest. So we may say that the dream is an experience which is determined by the impressions either of the waking experiences in this life or the previous life also. Because as we said, we carry from one embodiment to another embodiment, the various impressions are carried, and they mold our nature. So those impressions may be subconscious or unconscious. It is possible that in dream some of those impressions may have been triggered, and thus we may see things that we are not aware of. Although we may have experienced it sometime in the past, but the memory is not there, but the impressions are stored, and therefore yad drishtam yad shrutam. Either a waking state in this life or the previous life. But generally speaking, a dream experience is not a new experience. New meaning it has always a basis in the waking in the past. Sometimes we see funny things in the dream also, There are some things that are not found in the waking state. But sometimes the mind jumbles up things. And so it must see a red dancing elephant, let us say, in the dream state. Because you wanted to see a dance. You saw an elephant, you saw somebody dancing, you saw somebody wearing red clothes, so mind can combine all of this and create a new object called red dancing elephant. So this kind of object I have never seen. But I have seen the parts of it, which are all jumbled up. So all sorts of things happen in the dream, and thus we have the dream experiences. Vedantin doesn't bother much about dream, except what is the reality of dream? It is mithya. That's only Vedantin's interest. Now the psychologists may use a dream for various reasons, for therapy, etc., which they may. And elsewhere in the scriptures they write how to predict the future based on the experiences in dream. If you such and such thing in the dream, then know that this will happen. But Vedanta doesn't bother. Vedanta deals with the realities of life. So that there is a dream experience. What is the reality? It is negatable. The dream is negated when I wake up. And therefore, it is unreal. That's all that we have to understand. Because the moment we talk of dream, in satsang millions of questions will come about why and what, but as I said, Vedanta is only interested in this much, that there is a dream state and it is the projection. It is not real. It is mithya. That's the Vedanta's interest. Sukshma sharira abhimani atma taijasa iti uchyate. So the self identified with the subtle body in the dream is called Taijasa. So dreamer is called Taijasa. Waker is called Vishwa. Dreamer is called Taijasa. The resplendent one. It comes from the word Tejas. Tejas means the light or brightness. So the dreamer is the resplendent one, the bright one. Because the whole dream is made of thoughts. There are no tangible objects in dream. As I said, to create this hall, I don't have to seek any permission, I don't need any materials, it just gets created by the thought. And thought is shining in the light of consciousness. So whole dream world is the shining experience. The dreamer also is shining because all of these are made of the shining objects. Therefore the shining one is called Taijasa. Therefore the dreamer is called Taijasa. Elsewhere they also talk about similar states at the cosmic level also. Just as at the individual level there is waking, dream and deep sleep, at the cosmic level also there is waking, dream and deep sleep. So from deep sleep comes a dream and after that comes a waking. So they say Ishvara, God, Ishvara also is sleeping. That's called the state of dissolution. Everybody goes to, the whole universe goes to sleep. That's the Ishvara sleep. That's called pralaya or dissolution. Then the universe is half awake. Ishvara is half awake. It's called Hiranyagarbha. Then it's fully awake, it's called Virat or Vaishvanara. So Vishwa, Taijasa, and we'll see Prajna at the individual level, Virat or Vaishvanara, Hiranyagarbha, and Ishvara at the cosmic level. As we said in the dream, thank God that there is no kartrutva, there is no doership. All there is enjoyership. And they explain that every experience is a karma phala. Whatever happens must have a reason, and karma or action must be the reason. So, when does the dream experience arise? When the karmas or actions which were responsible for the waking experiences now have subsided, and the karma or the results which are now giving rise to dream, when they become manifest, that is when the dream experience happens. Thus in dream, we are basically exhausting some karma. So if the pain is there in dream, don't worry, some papa is gone. That's all. So in dream also there is pleasure and pain. It is experience of some karma. It's gone. Don't dwell much more than that on these dreams. And when the karma giving rise to the dream experience have been exhausted, then the karma giving rise to deep sleep experiences become predominant, then we have the deep sleep experience. When that karma is exhausted, then the waking experience. That's how it is karma that decides what state of experience we are going through. So here, with reference to dream state, the Kaivalya Upanishad says, Swapne sajiva sukha dukkha bhokta swamaya kalpita jivaloke. The self in the state of dream, is bhokta, the enjoyer of sukha dukkha, pleasure and pain, in the world that is created by his own maya, by his own projection. So dream experience also tells us that we also have a projecting power, like Ishvara has a projecting power. Ishvara projects this whole objective world, and the jiva projects the individual world. So that is the description of the dream state. And then next comes the deep sleep state. The question is asked here. Tataha sushuptyavasthaka. Then what is the deep sleep state? Because dream also is sleeping. Now sleep state is categorized as half asleep dream. Then what is the deep sleep state? Or that sometimes they call it dreamless sleep. Deep sleep or dreamless sleep. It's called sushupti. Answer is given. Aham kimapi na janami sukhena maya nidra anubhuyate iti sushuptyavastha. So that state, wherein what is the nature of experience? Experience is aham kimapi na janami, I do not know anything. Even though you don't say this when you are sleeping, you say this when you wake up. Naham kinchit avedisham, I did not know anything. Sukhamah asvapsam, na kinchit avedisham. So, it is a wake up. When you wake up, then this is the kind of statement that you make with reference to the deep sleep state. Sukhamaham asvapsam, I slept happily. Na kinchit avedisham, I did not know anything. That is what the waker says. The deep sleeper doesn't say that because he is not around to say that. So this statement is in the present tense. Aham kimapi na janami, I do not know anything. But really we should say, I did not know anything. Sukhena maya nidra anubhuyate. The sleep is very happily experienced by me. I am experiencing happiness. But this also, we say when we wake up, I experienced happiness. So that experience is called sushupti, the dreamless sleep or deep sleep. And so, Mandukya Upanishad describes sushupti like this. And this statement comes from again Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, partly. Yatra supto na kanchana kamam kamayate na kanchana swapnam pashyati tas sushuptam. What is the state of deep sleep? Yatra na kanchana kamam kamayate, when one does not entertain any desires, na kanchana swapnam pashyati, where one does not see any dream. That is called sushupti. Yatra supta. The interesting thing that they say is, where the sleeper, listen to this, where the sleeping person does not have any desires and does not have any dreams, that is called the deep sleep state. Where the sleeping person does not desire and does not dream, that is called the deep sleep state. But what do you say, sleeping person does not desire? See, where the sleeping person does not desire and does not dream, that is called the deep sleep state. That means that when we are desiring, that is waking state. When we are dreaming, that is dream state. But in these states also, we are sleeping. Sleeping where? Sleeping in the sleep of ignorance. So, yatra supta, where the sleeping person, sleeping in ignorance. As Bhagavad Gita says, what is it? Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagrati sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato mune. So, ya nisha sarvabhutanam, that which is nisha of the night for all the beings, tasyam jagrati sanyami, that is where the wise person is awake. Yasyam jagrati bhutani, that state in which all the ignorant are awake, that is where the wise person is sleeping. Therefore, even though We are all awake, but supposedly we are all sleeping. Anadi Maya Suptaha, sleeping in the beginning of sleep of ignorance or Maya. Therefore, where the sleeper, meaning where the ignorant person, because ignorant is sleeping. Sleeping the truths of one's own nature. Na kanchana kamam kamayate, where it does not entertain any desires. Na kanchana swapnam pashyati, does not see any dream. Tat sushuptam, that is called the sleep state, or that is called the deep sleep state. In short, kamam, desire, is the characters of waking state, and project, dream, is the character of dream state. When both are absent, that state is called the deep sleep state. And what is the experience there? Aham kimapi na janami. I do not know anything. In the deep sleep state also there is knowledge. So waking state we have the knowledge of the tangible, gross, external objects. In the dream state we have the knowledge of the projected, subtle objects. In the deep sleep state, even though we say we do not know anything, in fact what do we know? That is the knowledge of absence of everything. When I say that I did not know anything, at least I knew that I did not know anything. So thus there is a knowledge of absence of everything. So right now I see everybody who is seated in front of me. If this hall was pitch dark, then what do I say? I don't see anybody. Isn't it? If there is, I can't see, sometimes so dark that I can't even see my hand. I can't see anything. This child is scared, Mom, I can't see anything. But even when I say I can't see anything, then also I see. My eyes are open. And what do I see? I see the absence of everything. A seeing person says I don't see anything, understand? In the darkness also, my eyes are open. And then I say I don't see anything. Who says? A seeing person says that. So we can say that he sees, but he sees the absence of everything. Swamiji, this is all play of words. It's not play of words. Because two persons can say I don't see anything. Either a blind person may say I don't see anything, or a seeing person also may say I don't see anything if the light is not there. So for us to see with our eyes, not only do we require our eyes, we also require the light, external light, to illumine those objects. Then alone eyes can see. So even when eyes are open, if this external light is not there, we can't see anything. So then I say that I do not see anything. A seeing person says, because the light is not there. This is called sahayaka. We need a supporting means also to be able to see. Along with the eyes, we need the objects to be illuminated. When I don't see anything, I am looking through my eyes, but I don't see because the external light is not there. I do see, but I don't see anything particular. So it can be said that in a deep sleep state also there is knowledge, there is awareness. Awareness of absence of everything. Or you can say that there is awareness of nothing in particular. In the waking state, the light is there. What light do we need, The question is, in the deep sleep state, I am aware, but not aware of anything in particular. In the waking state, I am aware and aware of things. So what gives me awareness of things? It is of my mind. So, for being aware of things, not only do we require awareness, but we also require the mind. Just as to see the objects, not only do we need the eyes, we need the light. And so also to be aware of things, not only do we need the awareness, but we need the mind also. That mind is there in the waking state. Therefore, I am aware of things. Aware of myself and aware of things. In dream also the mind is there. Therefore, there also I am aware of things. In deep sleep state, the mind has gone to sleep. It has merged into its own cause, so our world of waking and dream gets merged into ignorance, and therefore all there is nothing but darkness of ignorance. Sushupta sthana eki bhuta prajnanagana eva anandamayo hi anandahuk. So Mandukya Upanishad describes the state of deep sleep as Sushupta sthana. One whose field of experience is the state of deep sleep. Eki bhuta, where everything has merged into one. In the waking state, we have the knowledge of the particularities of objects because the mind is there which can note that particularities. In deep sleep state, the mind which notes the particularity is not there, therefore we have knowledge in general. Samanya jnanam is there, Vishesha jnanam is not there. So, all Visheshata, all particularities are all merged into ignorance, and therefore in deep sleep state we don't have knowledge of particular aspects, but we have the knowledge, awareness as such. Not awareness of something, awareness as such. And then we can say awareness of the absence of everything. So understand that awareness which illumines everything is always there. In the deep sleep state also, awareness is there. But Swami, awareness is there. How come I don't know anything in deep sleep state? Because to know something, not only is awareness required, the mind also is required. Which is where vritti should take place. See, an object is cognized when a thought corresponding to object takes place in my mind. So this is pushpam, pushpakara vritti. When a thought of the nature of flower takes place, then I become aware of the flower. So thought is required. When thought is not there, even though flower is there, that thought doesn't take place. Even sometimes it happens that thing is right in front of me, but my mind is not there. I am absent-minded and I don't see. Bring that thing from there, the nurse you tell, bring it. She comes by, it's not there. It's there, I saw it. But because the person is absent-minded. So that is our experience. So many things we don't find. I open the refrigerator, where is it? Somebody comes and shows it's right here, Except that, eyes are open, but the mind is not behind the eyes. So it is our experience that particular knowledge does not take place if mind is not there. For a specific or a particular knowledge to take place, mind is required. In deep sleep state, this mind has gone to sleep. Therefore, no particular impressions, no particular thoughts are there. Therefore, no particular awareness is there. Therefore, we are not aware of anything in particular. In deep sleep state, we are not aware of even ourselves in particular, nor aware of anything, not aware of the world in particular. But we cannot say that there is no awareness. Just because I cannot see things, it doesn't mean I don't have eyes. It is because of eyes that I say that I don't see anything. Understand? And similarly, in the deep sleep state, when I say I did not know anything, it is because awareness is there. And therefore I say that I did not know anything because awareness illumines the absence of everything. So this is how Vedanta proves the existence of awareness in deep sleep state. Because deep sleep state is highly debated. And there are people who say that there is no awareness, no consciousness in deep sleep state at all. It is totally void, shunyam. Thus, the Bauddhas have drawn the conclusion that there is no awareness and therefore awareness also merges into nothingness. So, that is the basic truth of the cause in which everything merges. The effect always merges into cause, like the pot merges into clay. So where does the whole universe merge into? That would be the cause of the universe. So deep sleep is a state where everything merges. Everything merges into its own cause. So waking experiences have merged into dream, the dream has merged into the deep sleep state. So deep sleep state that way is a very good experience or a very good pointer to determining the reality of life, to determining the cause. So what is there in deep sleep state? Is there merely a void or nothingness, or is there consciousness? This is a debate. Bauddhas will say that there is nothingness in deep sleep, therefore nothingness is the truth of life. Vedanta will say that there is consciousness in deep sleep, and therefore consciousness is the truth of life. This debate is going on forever. But this is Vedantins, why is the deep sleep described this way? Aham kimapi na janami, sukhena maya nidra. Why should you say that? Why don't you say that deep sleep is a state where the entire existence merges into its cause? Which is true. Where our mind, our intellect, gross body, of course, awareness is not there, but the subtle body also merges into its cause, ignorance. But rather than describing that way, the author chose to describe this way. That in deep sleep state also there is an experience. What is the experience? Aham kimapi na janami, I do not know anything. Is an experience. Of what? Of not knowing anything in particular. Meaning that in deep sleep state also knowledge is there, awareness is there. But there is nothing to know. The object of awareness is not there. So what can you do? You would know something provided there is something to know. Suppose you are not there, then in the empty hall, I don't see anybody because there is nobody to see. In deep sleep state, there is nothing to know. Everything is merged into its cause, namely ignorance. That's also what Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says. In deep sleep state, nata dvitiyam. There is no that duality, that second thing is not there, which this person would know, because what you call second thing, the world, has merged into its own cause, it's not there, and therefore we do not have any particular experience in deep sleep state. But then there is awareness, there is experience. So sometimes, just this is by the way, that some people ask that Swamiji, experience, you said that experience takes place only when there is a corresponding thought. So for you to say that I do not know anything, shouldn't there be a thought of not knowing anything? So some Vedanta teachers say that in deep sleep state also we have subtle vrittis of ignorance. Subtle thoughts of ignorance are there by which that ignorance is known. This is how an explanation is given, because no experience can be there unless thoughts are there. So if you study the text called Vedanta Saraha and some other texts also, if you find this, then you know why they are saying, because to explain the experience in deep sleep state, because when we wake up, see, when you wake up and say that I did not know anything, what is that thing? That statement is based on what? It is not perception, it is not inference, it is memory. After you wake up and say, I did not know anything, that statement is memory. Because what was experience is not there, so it's not perception. And there is no evidence to make inference. So this statement, I did not know anything, is memory. And memory presupposes an experience. Memory can be there only when an experience is there. I cannot remember something unless I had experienced it myself. I cannot remember something that you have experienced, or I cannot remember something I have not experienced. Memory presupposes an experience. Ya smritihi sa anubhava purvika. That smriti or the memory is always preceded by experience. Is it not so? You remember, what did you eat yesterday? I scratch my head and then I tell you what I ate. But that is because I ate. Suppose I did not eat, and you ask me, what did you eat, Swami, yesterday? Regardless of how much head I scratch, I can't remember unless I project something. That's a different thing. I cannot remember that which I have not experienced. I don't remember what I have experienced. That's a different matter. But if I remember, it must have been experienced. So this statement, I did not know anything, that the waker makes, is said to be memory. That means that in the deep sleep state, there was an experience of not knowing anything. Thus in deep sleep state also, experience is there. And every experience always requires awareness to illuminate that experience. Therefore, in deep sleep state also, awareness is there, consciousness is there, self is there. And they say there is no self in deep sleep state, because had it been there, you would have been aware. We say that self is very much there, because I am aware of the absence of everything. And that's how another also evidence the Vedantin gives in establishing that the self is there in the deep sleep state. And that evidence is called pratyabhijna, recollection. When I wake up, I recollect. I who was sleeping is the one who has woken up. See, when we wake up in the morning, what's the nature of a recollection? When I wake up, do I say, hey, I'm born again, I'm born today? Do I say that? When I wake up in the morning, my experience is not that I who never existed has come into existence. My experience is I who was sleeping has woken up. Is it not so? When we wake up in the morning, don't we think this way? That I who was sleeping has woken up. Meaning that the one who was sleeping has woken up. That is the continuity of existence. And therefore, my statement or my feeling of knowledge that I sukham, so one who was sleeping alone has woken up. Pragaswapsam, so whatever pragaswapsam, the one who slept, iti prabodha samaya, that's what I recognize when I wake up. So that is another evidence that is cited in establishing the continuity of the self, that the waker recognizes the continuity between himself and the one who was sleeping. Anyway, all of these I am telling you because if you study Vedantic texts, all of this discussion will come. It's not very relevant in the context of Tattvabodha, because Tattvabodha doesn't address all these issues. Tattvabodha confines itself to a very simple analysis of the discrimination between the non-self and the self. And that is avasthatraya sakshi. Atma is the sakshi, the witness of the three states of consciousness. That's all that is intended here. So the description of three states here is to distinguish the self from the three states. And therefore the three states are described. But by the way, we told you various other things about the dream and deep sleep because these have been very extensively analyzed in Vedantic texts, in such Upanishads as Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and others also. So we find the analysis of the dream state, deep sleep state in Upanishads and other texts also. And so if you happen to see those things, then you come across these kind of discussions, then you know what is the relevance there. But two experiences are there. Aham kimapi na janami sukhena maya nidra anubhuyate. And that I slept happily. That's another experience. That shows that in deep sleep state, happiness also is there. Because my memory is what? I did not know anything, I slept happily. If you do wake up from deep sleep, if you woke up from disturbed sleep, then perhaps I cannot say I slept happily. More often than not, we wake up to dreams and stuff like that, and therefore, it's not that after waking up from sleep that I necessarily feel very good. Sometimes, because all kinds of stuff was going on in my mind before I woke up. But if I did wake up from deep sleep state, then that is the experience of freshness, experience of feeling good about myself, and I say I slept happily. So these two things I say in the waking, when I wake up, one is I did not know anything, and number two, I slept happily. So first experience says that there is ignorance. Second experience says that there is happiness or ananda. So this also is a very, very important statement. Very important statement that the waker makes that I slept happily, which establishes that there was experience of happiness in deep sleep state, which establishes that Atma is of the nature of ananda. Because you are happy. Your happiness came from what? We were watching movie in deep sleep state, what were you experiencing? Nothing. Even though there was no object of experience, and still I was happy. That shows that happiness is my nature because I am the only one there. So thus deep sleep experience is analyzed to establish the continuity of the self, continuity of consciousness, and establish that the Atma, the self, is of the nature of happiness because that is our recollection when we wake up. We'll continue. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Tau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.